Welcome back. I'm back with another one with Over the Top, the podcast. I am your host, Damon Hicks, and I got a very special guest. I'm super excited to have him on. I'll let him introduce himself.
Yeah, what's going on, everybody? My name is Jalen Malone. I am living here in Indianapolis, Indiana. I'm a worship leader, I'm a pastor, and in my professional life, I am a therapist, and that's what I'm here for.
Absolutely. Super excited to have him on. Last night was absolutely amazing. I made a post about reaching out to find a black therapist. I really wanted to have someone on that could just give us a deep dive on everything about therapy. And so a lot of people had him as a reference, and I'm super excited to have you on, man.
For sure.
How you
I'm
doing
glad to be
today?
here. I'm glad to be here. It's honestly an honor and a privilege.
Absolutely. We're gonna get straight into it, man. What made you dive into wanting to become a therapist?
That's a good question. If I'm honest with you, when I started my educational journey, I wanted to go into the arts. I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to be a singer. I wanted to be a dancer, actor. That's what I wanted to do. But unfortunately, my family was like, "You can't make no money doing that."
Mm-hmm.
And the only other thing that I knew that I was good at was helping people. So from a young age, being a church boy, my church home, and even to this day,
Mm-hmm.
they still have a homeless shelter. They
Mm-hmm.
still give out hot meals and
Mm-hmm.
clothes and those kind of things. And so the only other thing that I knew that I was good at was helping people.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was along my journey that I really started to learn about the mind, how the brain works, and having a love for people, which is why I pastor and have pastored for years. And it just kind of collided, being able to understand the spiritual side of an individual as well as the mental and emotional side of a person. It's
Mm,
just what I love and it's what I enjoy.
that's good. So when did you know that you had a love for helping people?
Since a young age, even from the time that I was in elementary school, I always look forward to Tuesdays because Tuesdays I'll take the bus to the church
Mm-hmm.
and get off of the bus and go and serve the people. So from a young age, I've always loved helping people and serving people.
Absolutely. So if someone asked you, what was your journey like right before you decided to go into what is it called? I guess when you become a therapist, like what is the?
Yeah. So a therapist, you actually have a couple different paths that you can go down.
Mm,
My journey was through social work. So I have a bachelor's in social work, my bachelor's is in. I got it from Indiana State University in social work with a minor in African and African American history with the focus on music and religion. And then my master's is in social work as well,
mm,
with a certification in e-social work practice, which came about and still relatively new to be able to provide social work services online. But you have that route. You can also go and be a marriage and family counselor. You have that route. You can also go and be a licensed mental health counselor as well. So there's a couple of different paths that you can go down in order to be a therapist. But the biggest thing, in order to be a licensed therapist, you do have to pass a written exam for the state of Indiana in
how,
order to be able to do that. Similar to like a lawyer takes a bar.
how difficult was that?
Oh man, it was hard. I'm not gonna lie to you. And if I'm honest and transparent with you, actually, I graduated with my master's in 2022.
Mm,
I took the test 5 times.
mm,
Honestly, I had given up on it
mm,
because it was so hard to be able to pass. So it's not an easy test to take. It's literally like a lawyer takes a bar exam. That's the best way
mm.
I can explain it. It's 240 questions. It's 4 hours long. You don't know what's going to be on the test. You literally just have to go in and answer it. So it's tough and it's hard. And so I was, with the grace of God, officially able to pass it just this year. But I've been working in the mental health profession for years prior to.
Okay, okay. Man, I ain't gonna lie. I'm super excited. I know y'all want me to get to the questions about the therapy, but I just want to get like into your story because there's so much into it as far as before even becoming a therapist. And so like I'm interested in like during that time when you was taking the test and you said you took it 5 times, what was some of the lessons that you learned? And what was like some of the greatest challenges that you felt that was like, ah,
The challenge of the test is it's, if I'm honest with you, it's a mental battle.
mm,
Because for me, I know that I'm great at what it is that I do on my job. Every job that I've worked at, I've always been good at it. So it's not a matter of not knowing the material. But if we're honest, the challenge is that they want you to answer the questions how they want you to answer the questions. So you have to approach the test from the book standpoint, not from your experience, not from how you were raised, not from what you think is right, but what do they think is right. So they'll ask you questions in regards to the helping process, or in terms of helping a client, or whatever the case may be. But all of the answers are right. It'll say what is the best. And so it is really a mental challenge even to take the exam. And so for myself, what I had to do was I prayed. I'm not even gonna lie to y'all. I prayed. I fasted. I really took some time with the Lord to be able to get past that exam, and I really took the time to answer every single question. So I kind of found the way to be able to highlight specific parts of the questions that's asked and answer it from the approach of what the book would want you to answer, not based from your experience or what you think is right, but what do they say is right.
So I got a good one for you. So, if you can remember, or and if you can, I don't know if you can or not. Do you remember any of those questions, at least one? And then, if you can, do you remember what they wanted you to say? And if you would say something different, I'm sorry, that was a lot of
No,
questions.
you're good. You're perfect. I would just make one off the top. You Now I'm a social worker,
Okay.
so it's always going to be social work.
Okay.
Not all social workers are therapists,
Okay.
but that's just the route that I chose. But they'll say, for example, you are a DCS caseworker or you're a caseworker. You go to the home of a 7-year-old child doing a in-home visit. When you arrive to the visit, you notice that the child has physical bruises on their arm. The father is present with the child, and clearly he's inebriated or drunk. What is the best response to this? Then it will go on to say, call 911. It'll go on to say, file an immediate DCS report. It'll say, do nothing. It'll say, contact your supervisor. Now, if we're honest, of course, we know we're honestly not going to do nothing. But the other three of those, you would, depending upon the situation, you may do all three of those at one point in time. The answer response in which that they want you to do is to, from the book, is to not necessarily assess or ask the child anything, but what they would want you to do is to make the assessment to DCS. You can't call 911 essentially because you don't see an immediate risk of the child. You're not seeing the father putting his hands on the child. You're not seeing the child being physically abused in any kind of way. So immediately you would not call 911. You would not immediately call your supervisor either because your supervisor is doing who God knows what else. The immediate option in that thing, what it's asking is to make a DCS report.
Okay.
So
Okay.
all of them are necessarily right at some point in time, but
So, if you could answer this, what's the difference between a psychologist and a therapist?
great question. So a psychologist, many of psychologists, what they do is they focus on, a lot of psychologists are able to prescribe medication.
Okay.
So that's the biggest difference between a psychologist and a therapist. The psychologist is able to focus on not only the mental, what the person is dealing with mentally, but they're also able to prescribe some sort of medication, whether that's Adderall, Ativan, whatever the case may be. The therapist is more so focused on being able to meet the person where it is that they are, process what it is that they're experiencing, and help them learn positive coping skills and make changes to their lives along the way. The best way that I can explain it is a psychologist is like, hey, let me give you these medicine and send you on your way. Versus a therapist is trying to link arms with you and make that journey along with you, if that makes sense.
All right, definitely. So, okay, okay. So, as a therapist, I wanna talk a little bit about, because I think I researched a little bit. Doesn't it have to do a lot with mental? Isn't it different layers that we don't even know as just regular people? Just saying, when people like, have you ever been to a therapist?
Yeah.
Could you explain a little bit about the work that a therapist literally does, as far as like with the mind? I think, if I'm right.
Yeah, you're good. So the work that a therapist does, any good therapist is going to say, one, acknowledging the fact that that we are only there to partner with you. We're not there to make recommendations. We're not there to tell you what to do. We're solely only there to partner with you on your journey to help you get through and establish whatever it is that you're going to.
Mm-hmm.
So, what that looks like, I'm going to talk about myself because
No,
I
it's
can only
fine.
talk about
Yeah, it's
me.
fine. Yeah.
But in my journey, my first session, well, I always do a consultation, which gives an opportunity for me to get to know you and you get to know me as a therapist. But that next official appointment, which is the one that you're going to pay for, is going to be an intake.
Mm-hmm.
In that intake, what I'm going to do is learn why you're coming to therapy, what brought you here. The second thing is I'm going to ask you what a lot of people call the magical question. That magical question is, I like to ask, is in the perfect world, if we lived in a magical world and you could erase one thing about your mental health, what would it be? And
Mm.
then I'm going to start to be able to learn about your story, where it is that you were, where it is that you are, and all the things that have added to your life today, and come up with a plan to make able to help you achieve the goals in which that it is that you see that you are. And that first session is a lot, but me being a pastor and being one in the spirit, I look at all angles of it. But that's what a therapist does: is they're able to look at the full picture of who a person is and learning to how a person has been able to develop the patterns in their mental capacity, and help them walk through it to unlearn some things and relearn some things to be able to have the life in which that they choose to have.
Mm. How do we get to the point to where? How do you get to the point to where you get people comfortable with even being able to open up? Because I think that's one of the things that's challenging for people when they go to therapists
Yeah,
before they even go to therapists.
yeah, that's what we call in this world as rapport.
That's
I
good.
think that's one thing that I've always been good at, is being able to build rapport. But the way that you do that is simply just by being honest. I always tell my patients and my clients that whenever you come to this virtual space, it's not about me, it's all about you. And that there's nothing that you can say, nothing that you've done that is so bad that you cannot talk about. And I think that it's just kind of a thing that you develop over time. It's not something that just happens overnight. It's just something that you just kind of go with and you learn as things go. But you have to know that you have to be open with your therapist because they can only help you as much as you're willing to be open and vulnerable.
Absolutely. What do you feel? Not feel. What are some of the benefits of going to therapy?
Benefits of going to therapy. I think there's a lot of benefits to going to therapy. I think it depends upon the person, but I think one of the biggest things, especially in the African American community, is, growing up, we always have been taught, and not everybody, but a lot of times, it's what happens in this house stays in this house.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so when it comes to therapy, as a licensed professional, what happens in our spaces is between us and you. There's
Mm-hmm.
nobody there. I always tell my client, there's nobody here but me, you, and God.
Mm-hmm.
And so it gives you that space and that opportunity to be able to process the things that have happened to you, regardless of if what you think is right or wrong. It gives you the opportunity to get it off your chest. Because if we're honest, when you look at things like cancer and other things, a lot of those things happen because we're carrying guilt and resentment and unforgiveness in our lives.
Mm-hmm.
But if we just had that one place that we can go to, that we can just be honest, transparent, real, and raw, and just get it off of us, it does so much more healing than what people think it actually does.
Absolutely. With people carrying so much trauma, what are some things that you might have told them to do with carrying so much? And then what do you think the benefits is with releasing from all of that trauma, carrying all that trauma?
Yeah. Ask it one more time. I just lost it.
Yeah, sorry. So what are some of the things that you tell them to practice, maybe at home, some certain practices, some homework or things? And then also, how are they able to just release all of that trauma that they've been carrying?
That's a great question. So when it comes to trauma, I want to say that it's not a one all ends all.
Mm-hmm.
It is a continual process every single day. Even if we put in your treatment plan that you're going to do therapy for 6 months, it's still going to take time even after that 6 months. So when it comes to trauma, in particularly, since that's what you're asking about, when it comes to trauma, the biggest thing is not necessarily re-exposing the person to that trauma per se,
Mm-hmm.
but talking about the feelings and emotions and what baggage is what I like to call it, that has caused that, even from that moment on, that is still lingering today. And so it comes to one, acknowledging what has gone wrong, not only from, if we're talking about trauma, the perpetrator and yourself. What did the perpetrator do? What did you do? And how can we help you be able to understand that? And for most people, it happened to them when they were a kid, you know?
Definitely.
So you have that. And so being able to acknowledge it and because from acknowledging it and saying that this is a problem, that's the first step to the healing process. Because a lot of people haven't been able to get to the
Being able
place
to
where they can
identify that.
acknowledge it
Yeah.
and be okay with saying, this hurt me, you know,
How
because
do
we
we
cover it up with so much other stuff.
how do we get to that point?
Time, time, because until you can get to a place that you can talk about it, because if we're honest in our lives, we cover it up with so many other things. Some people turn to alcohol, some people turn to drugs, some people turn to sex, some people become workaholics, some people they just cover it in so many other things. But you have to get to a place that you're willing to confront it, and nobody can make you do that. Only you have to be sick and tired of yourself to say, I'm tired of being sick and tired.
Wow, that's yeah. So I want to talk about expectation. How do we, if someone's talking to you about, the expectations of their mother and their father and just trying to figure out like, man, I feel like they abandoned me. I feel like they should have done more, or I expected them to do certain things. Like I'd be transparent. I have a father, which I love dearly. Do I want to put it in out there? I mean, so I have expectations for him when I was a little bit younger, but now I've accepted him to be who he is. It's just sometimes we feel like, how could you think of this, but you didn't think of this? So, for an example, I have a book and I've done multiple events. How was it easy for you to travel out of town to go listen to people sing in Ohio, but I have to tell you about my events? So, how do we get over the expectations for certain people in our lives?
That is a great question. And I'm gonna be honest, and and I've never said this openly,
Yeah.
but we're here. I believe in transparency.
Okay.
Talking about father, same. I was not only let down by one man, but two. You know, I had my biological father. Mom got me married. I was let down by two. But when it came to me and the expectations that I had of my father, my biological father, I had to put myself in his shoes. I had to think about where I was in my life when I was born. And I think that healing didn't come to me until I was 20, 21, because my father had me when he was 19, 20, 21, somewhere in there. And I thought about my life and where it is that I was at that time, and was I ready to have a child for my personal life where it is
Wow.
that I was.
That's good.
And I had to do that hard work. And so when it comes to being able to understand the expectations that we have to understand that our expectations and the other person's expectations are two different things. And for us, especially for yourself, let's make it a therapy session here.
Yeah, yeah.
You can't go back and say that you had those expectations if he did not know what your expectations were. Because you
That's
as a
good.
child, you can't tell
So,
him or verbalize what your expectations were.
yeah. So I mean, okay, what about now, right? Say, so I have children, and same situation. How come I have to bring my kids to you, but you go out of town and listen to the celebrity sing? Like they don't have to invite you to that. You invite yourself. That's not too far, but being 15-minute, 20-minute drive to come see your grandchild, that's too far. So it hurts. I've accepted it, but it still hurt to think like you don't think that you think that's so, like, I don't know.
You make a great point. But here's the thing of that too. We can't make somebody want something more if they don't want more.
Yeah.
So if they don't have the desire, that's really what it is. Listen, I know Usher and Chris Brown's coming soon.
Yeah.
If you'd rather stay in town and go see Usher and Chris Brown versus doing X, Y, and Z with your family, then we have to ask. If I was talking to him, I would say, "What is that?" You
Yeah.
know, we don't know if on the other side if he has some resentment. Maybe he feels a certain way because he knows that he let you down and
Yeah.
he's not ready to face that. And so therefore we can't make or jump to assumptions that we don't know, because I don't know if you guys have
So
had that conversation.
yeah. So what about if a person does acknowledge that, and the people do get those apologies from their parents or whoever it was that caused that? What do you do after that?
I think after that, the clearest thing to do is have a conversation about expectation, because that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
You have an expectation. Your expectation was not met.
Should you not have that expectation?
I think you can have expectation.
You can.
I absolutely do, Because once you acknowledge the hurt, once you acknowledge the pain that it has caused, and the person has apologized because obviously feel some kind of way, I want to go another way and say, well, maybe they're just telling you what you want to hear. But I won't do that because we're not in a full therapy session. But once you have that conversation, they've already saying that they are sorry, then you, at that point, it gives you the opportunity to say, hey, I appreciate that apology, but I want to have this relationship with you, and I want you to have this relationship with my children, but this is my expectation. And then give them an opportunity and say, and ask them plainly, does this expectation seem like it's too much for you? Or does it feel like it's, or is it achievable for you? And give them the opportunity to respond.
And if it's not,
And if it's not, then at that point, all
just
you can do is
just accept
pick up
time.
your bed and walk.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because you've done your part.
Yeah.
But if the other person is not willing to meet you, then what can you do?
All right. I have another scenario about a situation that I know. So, how do you feel about, or what would you say to this young lady that's been carrying so much? She's about, let's say, 38 years old, and she has that abandonment with her father, and she wants to tell him everything, but she don't even know where to start, and she's kind of scared of his response, and she's carrying that, and she wants to let him know. She don't even know what to say or how should she say. What would you tell her? Because she's
First,
hurt
yeah,
and she's carrying it.
the first thing I'm going to tell her is go see somebody.
Okay.
Because there's no way for you, it's easy for us to identify and pinpoint this is what is wrong. That's easy. But the harder part of that is turning that around and pointing it back at yourself. Because in order for you to heal, you first have to acknowledge what's wrong with you. And so I would tell that young lady, the first thing is to go talk to someone about what you have experienced and what you're experiencing, because it will help you be able to do the soul work, to be able to bring verbiage and acknowledge your feelings and bring the language to what you're experiencing before you go to that person. Because once you're in front of that person, if you haven't done the soul work, all you're doing is dumping and
Is it like mostly just being emotional, huh?
yeah, you're just being emotional. You're turning them into your punching bag, thinking that that's
Wow.
going to be what is making you feel better.
Wow.
But it's not. Because if you have not done the work on the inside of yourself, what good is it going to be for you to just go and throw your punches at this person? All you're going to do is feel drained and
So it's
nothing has been fixed.
so it's almost like forgiving them in a way and forgiving yourself in a way, and then going to be able to express and communicate in the most healthiest way.
Communication is key.
Wow.
And the way that you can properly communicate is you first have to acknowledge what's happening on the inside of yourself. And a lot of people, that's the hardest part, because you don't know, because you've brushed all these things under the rug. You've created this lifestyle that you just go on as if nothing ever happened. But you have to do the soul work to be able to acknowledge and put into words what you're feeling, what you have experienced, and what you're currently experiencing from what you've experienced.
Wow, that's good. That part right there that you said, I feel like a lot of people would be able to take from, because a lot of us have conversations that we need to have with our parents and just different people. I was writing this book called The Hiatus, and I wrote a chapter called Healing Conversations, right? And something I learned. One day I was having a conversation with my mom, my sister, and my auntie, and we was talking about just different things. And I was like, yeah. And I was going through some healing, so I tried to kind of force it on my mother and my sister, not knowing that their healing journey is their healing journey. So I'm like, so how do you feel about that? She was like, I don't feel no way about him. I was like, well, how you feel about mom? Mom's right here. You should speak to her. Trying to force it, and that's not my job or my place to even do that. But since I'm in my healing journey, I'm thinking that. And man, I seen how instantly within those 3 minutes, the emotions, to the point where my sister left out the house and my mom was sitting there like, I ain't got nothing to do with this or something. And I was thinking like, wow, that's kind of scary to think that you don't have what's the word I'm looking for, just a place in her reaction or how she feel, because how she feel is valid, but how you feel is valid as well.
Right.
But it was just interesting how, like, in healing journey, how do we get to the point where both sides are able to connect? And is it a thing to where sometimes it just don't happen?
I do believe that sometimes it just doesn't happen. Some people, what it's called is self-actualization. Some people never achieve that. And that's okay. Because again, some people, it's almost as Um, the best way I can explain it is some people literally live in a fairy tale land.
Wow.
They're here. You can see them. You can touch them. They can give you a hug. They can give you a kiss, and you see them. But in their mind, their perception of things is created.
Mm-hmm.
And so their way of processing and healing is to not acknowledge, especially in the African American community, let's just not even talk about that.
Yeah.
And let's just act as if it never happened, not knowing the issues and the trauma that it has caused other people. And some people are comfortable with that because it makes them not have to face them,
Mm-hmm.
especially if they're the perpetrator. It
Mm-hmm.
makes them not have to face them. And so for some people will never experience that. But does that mean that you cannot be healed just because the other person doesn't acknowledge it? Absolutely not.
Mm-hmm.
You can be healed and you can live a whole and healthy life,
Mm-hmm.
but you have to do the work.
Yeah. So, okay, I want to get on these two things, healing and also forgiveness, but we're going to start with healing first. What does healing mean to you?
Healing means to me, I'm going to give a practical. Healing to me is the moment in which an individual can be put back into the same predicament or the same space and feel no emotion. Almost as if
That's almost like numb, though.
it's not necessarily numb because you can be in that predicament and still acknowledge this was wrong or
That
this
it
person
happened.
did me wrong, but I'm no longer holding that against you or holding you captive to that because I'm healed. And I get it. It hurt me. It bothered me, but I'm good.
This the sound of that will make someone want to cry to be in that space, to finally be in that space, because trauma really affects people, especially when it happens to them as kids. And I didn't even realize how much trauma affects you as a kid. So I read a book about how the body keeps score and how,
That's a good book.
yeah, how something that happened to you as a kid, you might have forgot, but your body literally remembers. And you don't even know why you're triggered by a certain color or a certain sound, but it was something that happened to you as a kid.
Yeah, that's a great example. But you're absolutely right. We trauma is big, but there is a place and a space that you can be. And if I had the time to tell you my whole life story, and I'm writing a book about not necessarily my childhood because even me, I'm still working out some things of my
Absolutely.
childhood. But from my college days on, man, I can tell you stories about things that I've had to, and that I'm still working through to this day. But when it comes to both of my fathers, both my biological and my stepfather, I can stand before both of them today and not feel any malice in my heart.
How do we get to that point without, like, with still remembering though? Like, that's what I'm trying to figure out. Like, if we still remember it, how do we detach from that? Or is it not detaching, it's just being able to accept it, I
It
guess?
goes into forgiveness.
Okay.
It goes into forgiveness because, and I talked a little bit about it before. When it comes to my biological father, that healing process happened to me when I was able to, again, I did that soul work and said, hey, I myself was not ready to have a child at that age. Thinking about where
At
I was
19.
in college, living my best life. Man, Indiana State, man,
Yeah.
you know, that was eye opening to me. And so my thing is how can I hold this man accountable for that when I myself wouldn't have been ready for that, you know?
So then we talking about grace, right? Or,
In a way, but it's really more so it's really more so forgiveness
okay.
because I can forgive you because I too would not have been able to carry that burden, you know. But it's a journey and it is a process. It's not. I'm 32 now. You know what I'm saying? These things. Let me think. Me and my wife, we've been married now for. And I'm honest with you, having these conversations openly with you right now, I would say 3 years ago, I might not have been able to have the conversation
Wow.
because I was still going through my process.
Yeah.
But now that I'm married, I married a woman who had a child, and now I'm raising a child. You know what I'm saying? And having these thoughts and these processes about even where I am at 32,
Yeah.
it's really done some healing for me because I think about where it is that I am. So now I can stand before them and not and have forgiveness because even in those predicaments where I was your age or thinking about what I was at your age, I couldn't even have done that.
Yeah.
As saved as I am,
Yeah.
as anointed as I am, I couldn't have done it. So how
Absolutely.
can I hold you to that same standard when I myself can't even keep that standard?
Wow. That's good. Let me check the camera. One
You
second. Don't want
good?
it to cut off. One man team. Okay. We got about, I want to say a good solid 8 minutes, probably 5 to 8 minutes. I think it's good so far. Not gonna lie, I liked a lot of things to talk about. Cause it's some things that I just be wanting to know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Open book.
I'm right back into it. So I love that you talked about all of that with forgiveness because a lot of us struggle with forgiveness. And I've seen firsthand what it looks like for someone to be violated as a child and grow up still affected. I'm talking about the it's so it gets so deep,
Yes.
especially like you said within the black community. And I think because it's what stays in the house don't need to be outside the house and it never be addressed. It's so traumatic.
Yeah, for
And,
sure.
and so with going to therapy, I think a lot of us are afraid to go to therapy because we haven't even found anyone to be able to release fully without it getting thrown back in our face or without us feeling judged. How do you create that space to where they don't feel like they're being judged?
That's a great question. So my actual job, therapy is aside,
Okay.
but my actual job, I work for IU Health, which is
Okay.
the biggest hospital in Indiana,
Absolutely.
and my job title is behavioral health specialist.
Wow.
So I assist people to be able to find the mental health services that they need, whether it's therapy, grief counseling, mental health evaluations, medication, whatever it is, right? The list goes on. But what I always encourage people that are starting their therapy journey is to have a consultation.
Okay.
That consultation, not every therapist offers it. If they don't offer it, it might not be for you. I offer it. Y'all can call me, but it gives you an opportunity to be able to get to know your therapist get to know you to see if you're a match. And just because that one person that you call may not have been the best match doesn't mean that the next one's not. Sometimes you have to do 5 or 6 consultations to be able to find that person that you feel comfortable enough to with
Right.
to be able to release.
That makes sense.
And it takes time.
That makes sense.
And so don't be afraid to ask. Hey, can I have and it's free. It's free. You don't have to
Yeah,
pay for it.
consultation. Yeah,
To have a free consultation, just so I can ask my questions to learn about how it is that you do therapy and what your healing process looks like.
yeah. Okay. Can you give them your information so they'll
Yeah,
be able to
for
connect with
sure.
you?
If you would like to book a consultation with me, the best way to do that is socials. All of my things is my name, www.jalenlmalone.com, and all of my social medias is Jalen L. Malone. Feel free to DM me, go to my website. You can book a consultation right there on my website, and we can take it from there.
Absolutely. So we're ending it off. I would love for you to just give them some encouraging words or maybe a quote that you heard that really stuck with you, and then we can.
For sure. So what I'll say to all of you all that are listening to this is, I know we didn't really talk to about it too much today, but I would be remiss to not say that I'm a believer.
Absolutely.
And when it comes to the healing process, when it comes to doing therapy, there's no way to separate the physical, the emotional, the mental without the spiritual. And
Talk to
so
them.
for me being a
Talk.
therapist,
Yeah.
and understanding both sides in order for you to truly heal and to be able to get to that self-actualization, you're going to need the Lord. You're going to need the Lord because in those moments that you feel empty, those moments that feel broken, those spaces that feel as if they will never heal, the only person that is going to be able to do that for you is none other than Jesus Christ. And so as you're going through your therapy journey, as you're going through your healing process, you have to be willing to invite him into that. So that way he can be able to mend the broken pieces. In those spaces that feel broken, he will be able to meet you right where it is that you are. And that's what I'd have to say.
Absolutely, man. Well, I appreciate you for coming on. You answered a lot of questions. I want to do a part two
Let's
because
do it.
but so okay. I'd love to have you back on, man. This was amazing because I got a lot more questions I want to ask you because like you said, it's a
It's a
lot.
lot.
It's a lot, and this was just 30 minutes. So, but thank you so much for coming on, man.
It's
Really
my pleasure.
appreciate you.